Hi guys, it's Chris from Defy the Ocean, back again, another reaction video, and we're going to revisit VINTERSEA because, well, the last video I did, which was the Holy Procession, was, well, I had some critique of it. It was actually mainly around the production, and I felt like the song didn't really come to life as it should have because of some of the production elements. And actually, the band reached out and they wanted me to, you know, maybe try something more recent. And as would have it, they have just released a new track called Crack of Light. So I'm really interested to go back and hear something that they've released very current, very recent, and compare it to the sound that I heard in the Holy Procession. So let's bring it up and let's dig right in. Let's see what they've got to say for themselves. I can already hear that the quality of the recording, the quality of the production is better. Just from these intro guitars, you can hear that they've got an excellent use of delay and reverb. It's creating a really nice, rich, clean sound. And one of the issues that I had with the Holy Procession at the time was that I felt some of the clean guitar sounds were a bit dry. They didn't really, they could have been a lot richer. They could have been warmer. And we're already hearing in this song right at the beginning that the quality is much higher. Yeah, that's a cool outfit. And the other thing I had an issue with on the Holy Procession was the vocal processing. I can already hear from this that the vocals are very nicely processed, they're crisp, they're very present, but they're not sticking out above the mix. I mean, obviously they're perfectly audible, but there is just something where if a vocal doesn't have the right reverb, is a bit too dry compared to some of the other instruments, is too wet compared to some of the other instruments, it can stick out like a sore thumb. And I was getting slight vibes of that in the Holy Procession, whereas with this already I'm feeling like everything's together. Really nice harmony there. I'm loving this headgear that she's got going on. Oh, this is really, really pretty. Leagues above what I was hearing before. Okay, before the saxophone comes in. When the heavier, the distorted guitars came in, I felt like the dynamic shift was not as big as it should have been. And my feeling at that point was that it needed more punch. And, you know, without potentially looking at the waveform and seeing what the dynamic shift actually was, I'm just kind of reliant on my perception. I would say that it's maybe a victim of too much limiting at the mastering stage, and the dynamic range of the song has potentially been reduced. But it could also be down to certain. There's ways to make something seem punchy, even if it comes out of a section that has a very similar dynamic, similar volume levels. The other thing that kind of bothered me a little bit was, and it was a complaint I had on the Holy Procession, was some of the heavier guitar tones were just not as good as they could have been. And I had the opportunity recently to listen to an album that came out in 2020 from a band called Svalbard. I've forgotten the name of the album, but you can look it up, Svalbard, their most recent album. And I immediately, upon listening to that, I thought that the guitar sound on that, particularly some of the higher guitar work, like the tremolo picking chords and single notes, the way that those tones were just fantastic and would have worked so well in VINTERSEA's sound. And now when I'm hearing this, I'm thinking, man, if only they had that, it would be so much better. So that's just something to consider and something to check out. So they're called Svalbard, very cool band from the UK, I believe. Carrying on with the saxophone solo. I like that. Very nice. Let's talk about the saxophone solo. Really nice, really interesting. I feel like after... So I don't know if you've heard Rivers of Nihil. That's Nihil. But their last album, Where Owls Know My Name, I think. They used a fair bit of saxophone in their sound. And for me at that point, I was quite blown away. Listening to this, obviously I'm kind of... I wouldn't say I'm well versed in having heard saxophone and metal together, but it didn't come as a surprise to me. And in fact, my immediate thought was like, oh yeah, Rivers of Nihil, they've done that. So I don't know to what extent they felt maybe influenced by that or whether it was separate. I know that, I mean, even going back a few years, you look at a band like Tesseract and they kind of brought a saxophone into the mix as well. It's an instrument that you see popping up here and there as a way to kind of surprise the listener, and I'm all up for being surprised. I thought that the actual use of the saxophone here was pretty tasteful, and some of the notes and that were used, some of the melodic choices in the runs and whatnot were very interesting. So I'm happy with that. The other thing to notice is that when we've come out of the heavy section here and we've gone into the more clean section with a slight folky vibe, in terms of the sound, I feel like the sound has almost opened up in the stereo spectrum, and in some ways I feel like the heavier section should have been the most open sounding, like the most wide sounding, the most epic sounding, and then as we come into the clean section we should maybe be in a slightly narrower or a slightly more subdued sonic space. And I don't feel that shift was necessarily managed appropriately, and again it may be down to the mastering and the leveling. So if you imagine a waveform, right, you've got the verse, the verse, the verse, the verse, the verse, and then you might have the chorus, the chorus, the chorus, the chorus, so a lot louder generally, so you feel that dynamic punch. In this case I felt like the volumes were very consistent, and I would like to actually see it on in the waveform itself to see whether or not it's my imagination or it's I'm right. Carrying on. On that lamnas bread. Nice transition there. Got some strings in. Nice. Yeah, I certainly think that overall I enjoyed the song more than I did the Holy Procession. Although I think the chorus in the Holy Procession was potentially more catchy. I mean, I can remember the melody now, and it's been a couple of weeks at least since I heard it. But this one I found overall more enjoyable because I felt like the execution was better. I know I'm being quite picky. I know I'm kind of digging into a lot of small detail, but overall I found the song more enjoyable to listen to. And the things that I am picking on are actually kind of quite small issues. Things that would take it from like a 7, an 8 to a 9 or a 10 in terms of just listenability and enhancing the song. It's not a critique of the songwriting itself. I found the songwriting to be really interesting, and it took you on a really interesting journey, actually. You know, that was one of the best parts of the song, is it just took you on a really freaking cool journey. But the production is there to... I hesitate to use the word polish, but it's to bring out and exploit and capitalize on the music and make everything sound as good as it can sound. And that doesn't mean necessarily in isolation, because you can take the clean section that I was talking about, that I stopped at and was talking about, and you can take that in isolation and say, that sounds really great, that's perfect. But then you can play the heavy section before in isolation and say, that sounds really great, that sounds perfect. And then you hear them go from one into the other, and you you say to yourself, oh well, the transition isn't working super well, because sonically, not melodically or anything like that, but sonically, because I'm expected to go from this emotional state in the heavy section to this emotional state in the clean section, and in order to achieve that, I need to have the clean section to be maybe more subdued, or vice versa. And there were elements of that where I was just like, particularly in the transitions, I just felt that they weren't taking me as smoothly and as nicely into section to section sonically. But yeah, I mean, it's a minor complaint overall. I really enjoyed the song. I'm up for listening to these guys more. I know their previous album is something that I've completely missed, and this is a new single, so I will be giving them more of a listen. If you have a preference, a song, I've already been given some suggestions, but if you have one that you really want me to listen to, please by all means get on the Discord or leave a comment below, and I will get to it. And of course, if there's anything else that you would like me to listen to or react to, I will take requests again via the Discord, links below, and via the comments. What else to say? Nothing much. These guys are doing good stuff. I'm suitably impressed from where I heard their last track to now. There is a refinement to the sound. There seems to the songwriting seems a little more mature. They just seem in the sound more sure of themselves. And yeah, I think they're great. So I'm looking forward to more. And that's it from me. So if you enjoyed the reaction, please like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Join the Discord server, the Defiant Ones, and check me out on Twitch every Friday night, 6:30 p.m. GMT. And we'll be doing the new rock, alternative, and metal releases of the week, listening together, rating and ranking them in my New Music Friday stream. So see you there. Take it easy.